Well, they have invested so much money in technology that they have significantly improved the overall customer experience. And frankly, that has helped them bridge the gap to call it the regional grocer who I go to my grocery store across the street. I know the produce guy, I know the butcher, I know the
Right.
people that are checking me out. And that was kind of the draw to that retailer, why I kept going back. And now these regional grocers, these other types of retailers have their AI is giving them the ability to have technology to continue to improve their overall customer experience.
Today on Customer Land, I'm with Jeff Baskin, Chief Revenue Officer at Eagle Eye. Jeff and I, as it turned out, have a lot of mutual acquaintances because I guess that's just the way this small space works. But surprised that we haven't actually physically bumped into one another before now, but been looking forward to this sometime. Jeff, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike, and really appreciate you having me on the podcast.
So I've spoken to Tim Mason, CEO at Eagle Eye, a handful of times. He's
Yeah.
been on the podcast. So for longtime listeners, they probably have some idea of what Eagle Eye was when we were talking, but there's been evolutions of Eagle Eyes, your product offering, kind of your market approach over that period of time. So maybe it would be helpful just to hear in your words what Eagle Eye is all about,
Yeah.
what you're doing in the marketplace right now, and maybe a little bit more about your role there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Eagle Eye has been around for almost 20 years now, based in the UK, headquartered in London there. And we are, again, it's evolved quite a bit, but we've really become an AI personalization and loyalty platform that covers kind of all areas of personalized marketing and loyalty for retailers. Our core group of retail clients that we have today is in kind of grocery and convenience and fuel retail and hospitality, I will call it. We've got offices all over the world and some of the largest retailers in the world on essentially all continents, from Woolies in Australia to Loblaw in Canada, to virtually everyone in the UK and France. So proven solutions over a very long period of time. And you mentioned, Tim Mason, who's former CMO at Tesco and built club card challenges and is highly regarded as the godfather of loyalty in some circles, as you've probably seen, Mike. And it's just we've got a great culture at the company, and that really exudes down to kind of how we take care of our customers and don't really like to call them customers, but more partners. And that's what we really do, is have a consultative approach to strategic partnerships, as I would like to call it.
I guess what I'm wondering is, the whole world, including Eagle Eye at some point, were loyalty technology providers or incentive providers. And I feel like through this conversation and other channels that Eagle Eye is much more than that now. You're taking a broader approach to customer engagement. Can you just unpack that a little bit, if I'm even right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you are certainly, and you mentioned Tim's experience and what he's done, what he did at Tesco over the years. I mean, Tim's forgotten more about loyalty, than I'll ever know. And I've been doing retail technology for close to 25 years now in different capacities. But I think it really goes back to what I've referred to in articles that I've written on kind of unified commerce and kind of how all of this retail technology comes together. Where I think before, years ago, you built your e-commerce site, you had your in-store, and they were literally completely separate channels of marketing and sales. And now then you had kind of omni-channel commerce, and then that has kind of evolved into what I'll call unified commerce. And those that have stayed in these silos have really fallen behind, I'll say. And retailers that have really adopted this kind of singular format or a unified commerce where it's really built on data. And I have this one view of the customer, and whether they're in store, whether they're online, whether they're at the gas pump, I have a singular view of the customer. And um, the I like to say like the silos that we're in are like it's like running three separate kitchens in a restaurant. Your fry cook doesn't know what the grill cook is doing, and the customer gets a cold hamburger
Right,
uh,
right,
if we're not talking to each other. So that's a real much simplified version of what we're trying to accomplish at like, for instance, at Eagle Eye and solving these very large, complex problems that grocers and convenience stores have in getting to the next level and frankly competing with, the Walmarts of the world.
right. Well, the analogy works really well. The three kitchens,
Yeah.
um, you know, I think even a layperson can understand it, the issues there. Yeah, I want to split hairs for a minute if we can, because for the longest time, and still even now, there are lots of people out there talking about omni-channel approaches to customer engagement, and you don't hear as much as anymore, but it was the buzzword. It was the thing that everybody
Yeah.
was going for and moving hard towards. I mean, I'd say maybe even up to, I'm making this up, but 3 years ago. And Eagle Eye is talking about something now that's a little bit different. And, is there a difference between omni-channel and unified commerce? Is it this, and again, I'm not pointing fingers, but is it the same thing with a different label? Or are what you're describing, is that more of a data view, unified data view than anything else? Help me to understand that.
Yeah, if you talk to all the people that you mentioned that we know in each other's networks, you'd probably get a few different answers on this.
Right.
I think the unified commerce it's not just stitching systems together with duct tape. It's a single platform where loyalty, payments, promotions, customer engagement, personalization are all talking to each other in real time, and it's creating a personalized and marketing shopping experience, is what I would say. And retailers can gain an absolute complete view of the individual shopper and can consistently deliver seamless services, whether that be, BOPIS or buy online, pickup in store, curbside pickup, cross-channel returns is a big one. And then obviously, more importantly for Eagle Eye is, the personalized loyalty type experiences. And um, experiences create loyalty, and having unified commerce capabilities is how retailers are able to deliver those experiences.
One of the things that comes up very often in these kinds of conversations, and you just touched on it, is the idea that there are still a lot of organizations out there, especially the big ones, who are operating in operational silos, data silos, even kind of cultural silos, which are all impediments to getting the big job done. And I think we brought this up in an earlier conversation with Tim, but that's been a while ago. I'd love to hear your take on how Eagle Eye is approaching the existence of these kinds of silos and how you're coaching your clients through the process, because it's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you look at whether it be silos or if you take loyalty, in general, for example, I think um, too many retailers still treat loyalty as points for purchase, and it's
Right.
super simplified. They're using old legacy POS loyalty systems that are very, very basic. Um, but the smarter loyalty retailers or ones that are utilizing loyalty, it's all about driving incremental behavior, is what I would call it. If you look at one of our partners in Giant Eagle, which is a large regional grocer based in Pittsburgh, they're combining loyalty with digital promotions. They've delivered hundreds of millions in incremental sales, um, all while building really strong customer relationships. And the secret is utilizing that loyalty data to not just reward what's happened in the past behavior, but to shape the next purchase and moving shoppers into those higher margin categories or creating cross basket growth is really important. Um, Another example that I'll give to that really shows the difference, especially when we talk about artificial intelligence and really true one-to-one personalization, is what we've accomplished with our partnership with Tesco, which launched what we call AI challenges, and that was done in about May of 2024. And um, challenges are think about fully personalized. Their AI models take about 190 plus different types of decisions, assign tailored offers and thresholds based upon every single customer behavior and ensuring relevance and driving incremental spend. So that's really the difference is imagine going to a CPG and saying, hey, for every dollar that you spend, I'm going to guarantee you incremental spend on that. That's a pretty powerful mechanism, especially even to go get retail media dollar, from a CPG. So that's what really Tesco was able to accomplish. They have 23 million Club Card households and 16.3 million app users. So this is a large organization or a large customer base. And what they did was they piloted fast and scaled fast. And that's something that I like to talk about as what a lot of retailers really should be trying to do to innovate. And they launched at 3 million customers and then scaled to 10 million, almost overnight. And that allowed shoppers to earn up to 50 in pounds in Club Card points at once. Unlike an old school traditional loyalty incremental promotion. So having that be fully personalized, utilizing AI to scale, allowed them to scale very fast and not have a ton of labor that was in order to be inefficient.
You can optimize for NPS, and that's good. You can optimize for CSAT, also good. You can optimize for loyalty, and that's good too. But here's the thing, if you're not optimizing for total customer value, for total customer profitability, then you're just optimizing for output, not the bottom line. Here's the truth. If your strategy isn't building better customers, more frequent, more loyal, more deeply bonded, then it's not a strategy, it's a performance. At Customerland Studio, we help brands find the value, find the opportunities, the force multipliers hiding inside the customer relationship. And then we help them optimize for scale, for yield, for profit across the entire relationship. Because the other thing we've learned, the only strategy that actually matters is the one that makes your customers more profitable. Customerland Studio, to make better customers. Go to customerland.net and click on the studio. When you're going to somebody like Giant Eagle or to Tesco and you're saying, hey, listen, we have programs that can bring this kind of incrementality to your world, I'm interested to know what and how you overcome the kind of conceptual hurdles. And I'm going back to some of the silo discussion we had a minute ago, but I mean, it is almost a universal conversation that I have with, so, what are the challenges? Well, it's data that doesn't want to talk to other data, and it's, divisions that don't want to, or don't know how to, or don't even know other divisions exist. So the idea of unified commerce, I think, is an absolute brass ring. It's a notion that everybody's on board with as an idea, but achieving it can be really difficult. And yet, what you're telling me is Eagle Eye has, at least with these couple of clients, figured out a way to stitch this together, and that's probably not the right phrase there, to make this work in an enterprise way. So what's the secret sauce? Are you showing up with, hey, listen, this is the potential outcome. Let's get the ducks in a row to pull this off, or is it more of a kind of upstream advisory approach? And I'm sorry if I'm asking questions that are too deep in the weeds.
No, it's really what we've realized that we need to do in order to make our retail partners successful is to take that consultative approach that you're mentioning, right? Is a lot of retailers are going in, they say, we want to do loyalty, we want to do personalization, but we really don't have a clear strategy on how to actually accomplish that. We have the experience of a lot of people here at Eagle Eye, as well as the technology to help them get there. So we've like to say, like, we've seen it all and done it all, and then we're thinking about what's next. So that gives us a pretty big advantage. And I think the AI part of it and the fact that, you use the word AI and every single company, whether they're using it or not, has it on their website. They're
Right.
talking about how they're using it and personalization. And a lot of times, frankly, it's just a lot of other
It's window
companies.
dressing.
It's
Let's be,
window dressing and
yeah.
and they might be doing some segmentation or they might be doing some, for lack of a better term, bucketizing of customers. I was at the Grocery Next conference last week in Chicago, and I was kind of shocked to see that the word AI didn't actually even come up on the first half a day. It came up the second part of the day, but the word that was really out there more was personalization. And
No
every
kidding.
every person there was talking about personalization, one-to-one personalization. And I was shocked and excited because I'm like, wow, this is exactly what we do. But the fact is that there was a lot of noise about it because everyone was saying they do some level of personalization. And um, the fact that we've been able to have this in market with large retailers who have been able to scale it and prove it out and prove out ROI, I think gives us a really big advantage over those that are like just now starting out and talking about it. It's moving so fast. And the fact that we have literally years of learnings to help improve the solution has really helped us kind of take it to that next level. And I think the reason people are talking about personalization so much is because it works, right? The other analogy that I like to use is you know, have people shop the way that they consume other things. So think about the way that we watch TV and scroll around on our devices. My Netflix profile is personalized to me and my wife's to hers, and they couldn't be more different, frankly. The algorithm works and it's accurate. And also just like how, I've got my three teenage daughters who are on Instagram and I've got Instagram, but our feeds are very, very different. And the reason that people are on Netflix so much or are scrolling on Instagram so much because these are all things that are personalized to them, that are relevant to them. And frankly, if they weren't, people would get off of it and go do something else because they don't want to look at things that aren't them. It's the same exact thing when you're shopping for your groceries, right? If I mentioned I have three teenage daughters. I don't plan to have any more kids at this point. So if you put diapers and things like that on my grocery list, I'm going to look somewhere else and I'm going to disengage. So that's really the power of what we're able to do with AI and personalization, and be that sticky, and help people get through personalize it so that they're engaged and then they're going to feel loyal to that retailer because they know them at that point.
Yeah, really interesting moment in time in terms of personalization because now we can do stuff like this that we couldn't even conceive of at this level of
Absolutely.
granularity, what, 2 years ago, maybe even a year
Yeah.
ago. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's just crazy. So you've worked with some big brands, some big retailers. You've seen underneath the hood of a lot of retail technology. Um, it's probably a separate conversation, but I'd love to get your opinions of what's good and what's bad and some of the mistakes and some of the pathways
Yeah.
you've seen. Because, I have a view to some of it. You've probably got a deeper view to that. I think that'd be fascinating. But I'm mentioning that because the retail stack, at least kind of the customer facing stack, is morphing really fast right now
Yeah.
because of AI. I mean, tools that were uh, call it even cutting edge 2 years ago are now kind of table stakes, and they're being, I know companies who are considering shelving some giant investments from only 2 years ago because
Yeah.
of what they can now do with AI. So you've seen all this stuff. You're working with a great group of people now that are doing some really cutting edge stuff with AI and personalization and loyalty. I want to just ask you, from where you sit, what are, say, two or three things that you wish on a wish list basis brands and retailers could see and understand that you do?
Yeah, I think, the great thing about working for an organization that is worldwide is that you get to see people, different shopping behaviors in different from different cultures and different way that retailers operate because, culturally we're all different. So you get to see kind of what's working and what's not in different areas of the world. What I think is the same around the world is customer centricity, if you will. And I think that a lot of retailers are looking at certain KPIs and saying, "Hey, I need to get more sales, or I need to do this, and so therefore I'm going to build something that's going to just do that." But I think if the focus is on the customer and making sure that they start with the customer outcome and not necessarily the technology itself, but how can I create a better customer experience to create loyalty? um, those other things will come. If you create a great customer experience, you will get more visits. You will get an increase in sales. You'll get a bigger share of basket. They're gonna be loyal to your store. So I think, and the AI and the personalization, all of that can certainly help with that. But I think retailers focusing on that first are going to be the ones that end up winning. I think if you look at um, Walmart's a really interesting example of a retailer that even just not too long ago, as you mentioned, not just AI, but like not too many years ago was Walmart was they have a ton of stores and they were the lowest price. And that was really, the main thing. Well, they have invested so much money in technology that they have significantly improved the overall customer experience. And frankly, that has help them bridge the gap to call it the regional grocer who I go to my grocery store across the street. I know the produce guy, I know the butcher, I know the
Right.
people that are checking me out. And that was kind of the draw to that retailer and why I kept going back. And Walmart is now doing some things that um are bridging the gap between that. And I think now these regional grocers, these other types of retailers have their AI is giving them the ability to have technology to continue to improve their overall customer experience and still have that personalized approach in the store with the butcher and the pharmacist and the people that know your name type of thing. So they have to be able to use that in order to get competitive again.
So it's a fast moving world. What do you think you and I are going to be talking about in 2 years, which is impossible? I mean, 2 years
Yeah,
is like a life.
yeah.
So forget that. That's a bad question. Let me redo that one. What do you think we're going to be talking about in a year?
I think data is still going to be, I mean, we're talking about it now, right? I think, but as you talk to retailers now, it's, man, I have data all over here. I acquired this company. Their data is completely mismatched to the data that I currently have, and it's a mess. And so I think the cleansing of the data and really thinking of your data as a strategic asset, not exhaust, is really where retailers need to think about now, but also, how do in a year or two we've solved that problem? And if you have, it just really opens up the doors and the possibilities of what you're going to be able to do to get to that customer centricity that I mentioned a minute ago and create that customer experience because your data is in line, your silos have been broken down. You now have this, unified commerce experience for your customers. And the data is really at the heart of that portion of it. So I think certainly AI is going to be at the top of the conversation, but I think the way to get there, the AI is running off of your data. So that's going to probably be the key point I think that people are going to have to get around.
Yeah, completely agree. And we've said it before, universal concern. And I think, in a year, it'll still be a problem.
Yeah,
It'll probably still be a problem with a lot of people in 2 years because these things can be unwieldy. But yeah, I think we'll always be talking about that on some level.
absolutely.
Well, Jeff, I really appreciate this. As I've said many times when I get on a call with Eagle Eye, there's so many different places to take these conversations. What does loyalty look like? What is loyalty? What's working in loyalty and why? And what isn't and why? And what's behind the friction and all that? Things I know that you think about and talk about all the time. I'm dying
Yeah.
to get into it with you, but we'll probably need to leave that for another conversation. Otherwise, we blow the afternoon.
Definitely. Well, we'll have to have a part two for sure.
I love that. I love it. So again, I'm talking to Jeff Baskin, who's Chief Revenue Officer at Eagle Eye. It's a really interesting company doing some really interesting things in loyalty, personalization, and engagement. And check out the links below this podcast.